Hi, welcome to my video on find the equation of a polynomial function. Let's find the equation of a polynomial function in factored form. P of x equals a times x minus b, x minus c times x minus z, etc. And also we could have some, these are powers or exponents of 1. We could have a 2 or a 3 as a power, a quadratic or a cubic as a power. Let's do number 1. Don't forget to pause the video if you wish. The p of 1 equals the p of negative 3 equals the p of 0 equals 0. And the p of 2 is negative 60. So that means if the p of 1 equals 0, that means x minus 1. 1 is a 0 of a polynomial. That means x minus 1 is a factor. If the p of negative 3 is equal to 0, that means negative 3 is a 0. That means x plus 3 is a factor. If the p of 0 equals 0, that means 0 is a 0 of the polynomial. That means x is a factor. Therefore, we have p of x is equal to a, x minus 1, x plus 3. I like to take this x, which is a monomial, and move it in the front. So we got x minus 1, x plus 3. Now the p of 2 is equal to negative 60. So that means the p of 2, a, 2, we're putting 2 in the place of x. So the p of 2 is equal to a times 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 plus 3 is 5. So the p of 2 is equal to 2 times 1 times 5 is 10a. That means if the p of 2 is negative 60, that means 10a is equal to negative 60. Divide by 10, a is 10's cancel, negative 6. So the p of x is equal to a is right here, negative 6, x minus 1, x plus 3. So that's the polynomial in factored form. And again, if you multiply all this out, you would get the equation in the general form. Number 2, don't forget to pause the video if you wish. We got equation in factored form of a polynomial. We have single zeros of 3 and negative 1. 4 is a 0 with a multiplicity of 2. And the p of 1 is negative 72. So because 0 is at 3, that means x minus 3 is a factor. If we got single zeros of negative 1, that means x plus 1 is a factor. And we got a 0. 4 is a 0, so that means x minus 4 is a factor with a multiplicity of 2, so that means it has a power of 2. So the p of x is equal to a, x minus 3, x plus 1, x minus 4 squared. So notice we have singles, 1 here, 1, 2, doubles, multiplicity of 2, so this is going to be a quartic. And it says that the p of 1, we have the p of 1 is equal to negative 72. So the p of 1 is equal to a, we're putting 1 in the place of x, done, and then we'll simplify this side here, so that's an a. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Remember, we have to work the inside the brackets first by PEMDAS. We keep going. Now we have to do the exponent next before we multiply. So negative 3 squared is 9. So that gives us negative 4 9s are 36a. So that means that a negative 36a is equal to, because the p of 1 is right here, is negative 36a, and the p of 1 is negative 72. So that means negative 36a is equal to negative 72. Divide by negative 36 on each side, cancels. A is 2. So the polynomial equation in factored form, A is 2. So we're putting 2 in here and writing these expressions down. X minus 3, X plus 1, X minus 4 squared. Okay. So that's the polynomial that represents, which has roots of 3. So the factor is negative 3, roots of negative 1, X plus 1. 4 is X minus 4 with a multiplicity of 2. And the A is 3. The A is 2. So there's the polynomial equation. So if you put 1, P of 1, so if you put 1 in place of X here, here, and here, and simplify this expression, you should get a negative 72. Let's continue. Find the equation, this time in general form. Just then we found the factored form. So we'll find a factored form and then we'll expand it. So this is the general form A. Notice there's no brackets. It's A times X minus N, B, X to the N minus 1, etc., down to the constant of K. So we have roots of 2. So that means we have a factor of X minus 2. We have a root of 3, so we have an X minus 3. We have a root of a negative 4, so we have X plus 4 as a factor. So if you multiply all that out, so it's an equation in the general form, and it notices the equation equal to 0, so these are all the factors multiplying to give you 0. So we have to multiply this out, so I multiply the binomials on the right side, so X times X is X squared, outside is 4, X inside is negative 3, 4 and a negative 3 is 1X, and 3 times 4 is 12. That's the fast way to do it by FOIL. I multiply the first, and then I go outside, inside, add them up, and the last. Now I multiply this by binomial times a trinomial. X times these 3 will give me X cubed plus X squared minus 12X. So I multiply the X by this trinomial and got these 3. Now I'm going negative 2 times these 3. So it's a negative 2X squared minus 2X plus 24 equals 0. And I add up in descending order. X cubed, X squared, 1 and negative 2 is negative X squared. Negative 12 and 2 is negative 14X. And we have a 24. So that's the factored form of the equation. Notice the equation is equal to 0, and we expand it out, and we get this trinomial. So if you subbed 2 in the place of X here, it would work out to be a 0. Or if we did synthetic division with a 2, you get the remainder 0. And second one to do, don't forget to pause the video and work your answer out before I do. The quartic polynomial. Quartic is degree 4 with integral coefficients. The coefficients are integers. We don't want fractions. We don't want irrational numbers. We don't want i's. Got to be integral, integers. If the roots are root 7 and a negative 3i. So what happens with root 7 is an irrational root. So therefore we got root 7. We also have a negative root 7 because it's plus minus. If we have a negative 3i, which is imaginary root, we also have a positive 3i because they're conjugates of each other. They come in pairs. Remember the quadratic formula? Negative b plus or minus the square root. So this is the plus and minus. That's the plus, that's the minus. That's the minus, that's the plus. So since we have this as a root, that means x minus root 7 and x, that's a root. So a factor is x plus root 7 is the opposite. So notice that's a positive root 7, that's a negative. So if you put a root 7 minus root 7, you get a 0. That's a negative, so we make it positive. Note here we got, that's a negative 3i, so we put a plus 3i. And right here we have a plus 3i, we make it a negative 3i. Reason? These are the factors, so the roots are the opposite of the term that's in this expression, the numerical term. So when we multiply all those out, so we got one root here, which got its conjugate. We got another root here. There's its conjugate. We got 4 roots. So that's going to be equal to 0. So let's multiply this quickly. Watch. There, the difference of 2 squares. So x times x is x squared. Outside is positive root 7x. Inside is the negative root 7x. That's a 0. So negative times a positive is a negative. Root 7 times root 7 is 7. So let's multiply these two. We get x times x is x squared. Outside is negative 3ix. Inside is a positive 3ix. They give you 0 when you add. And then here we get 3i times negative 3i. That's a negative 9i squared. But I squared is negative 1, according to the previous unit that we did. So that gives us a positive 9. Now we FOIL this. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Outside is 9x squared. Inside is negative 7x squared. So it adds up to 2x squared. And a negative 7 times 9 is a negative 63. So that's the quadratic equation that has these roots. So that's working with the roots, which are factors, or the zeros, which are factors, and getting the equation in factored form or in general form. So that's just a little review to make sure you understand. And if you like my video, click on the like button. Click on the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you very much for viewing it. Bye-bye.